The 2022 NBA draft just wrapped up, and man was it filled with surprises. I think we definitely have some clear winners and losers, so let's get into this. I think we've got to start it off at number 1, where the Orlando Magic selected Duke power forward Paolo Banchero. Now this was definitely a shocker. Just days ago, he was a 10-1 underdog to go number 1. Just hours before the draft, it was 2-1. While it was surprising, there's just no way you could have them as a winner or loser. I legitimately believe it was only personal opinion that was separating these 3 guys at the top. I think Paolo actually is the only player with all NBA first team upside coming out of this draft. I really don't mind the pick for them. But getting into the losers of the draft, I think there's a very, very clear team that sits above the rest, as I usually do in this category, the Sacramento Kings. Now this is no knock to Keegan Murray. Murray is a great prospect that might be the most well-rounded player in this draft. What makes them losers is the fact that they passed up on the clear top player on the board in Jaden Ivey. Ivey is the most explosive player in this class. He stands at 6'4" with a 6'9" wingspan. This year he averaged 17 points, shooting 46% from the field and 36% from 3. Now yes, it's not a great fit in Sacramento with them having Fox and Mitchell, but it's not like Murray is walking into a clear spot either, and it's been well reported that there was heavy interest from teams looking to trade up, so regardless, I think they could have made a much better decision tonight. But we really can't expect anything less from the Kings. They selected Thomas Robinson, 1 pick before Damian Lillard, Jimmer 1 pick before Klay Thompson, and Marvin Bagley, 1 pick before Luka Doncic. Now again, I'm not predicting Keegan to be a bust, but I have a very strong feeling this is a draft that Sacramento fans are not going to want to look back at. Now their decision at 4 created easily the biggest winner of the night in my opinion, and it's not even close. That's the Detroit Pistons. I've said it time and time again that Ivy was the perfect fit in Detroit alongside King Cunningham. I even talked about them as a candidate to trade up to 4. Well, they didn't have to do that. They just let the Kings be the Kings. That selection alone would have made them the winner of the draft in my opinion, but their night wasn't over. They later got involved in a 3-team trade with Charlotte and New York that resulted in them sending a 2025 first-round pick coming from the Milwaukee Bucks that they just got in the Jeremy Grant trade in exchange for the 13th pick Jalen Duren and Kemba Walker, who they're just going to buy out. Now this is an interesting selection with all the rumors that they're going to be going after DeAndre Ayton, but I'm not really sure this affects that too much. Duren's one of the youngest players in this class, which is really impressive considering his production at Memphis. I view this as a very high upside hedge if they strike out on Ayton. It had to suck for Pistons fans, missing out on the top 3 when they came in tied for the best odds in the lottery, but I think they did an incredible job with what they were given. Obviously with the help of a joke of an organization. Another huge winner I have, and this might surprise some of you, I've heard mixed opinions, is the Blazers going with Shaedon Sharpe at 7. At first glance, it seems weird to take a chance on a guy that hasn't even played college basketball just after trading for Jeremy Grant, trying to retool this roster around Damian Lillard. But there's a couple things to consider. They might have struck out on deals they wanted to make. The one that was getting talked about a lot was OG Anunoby. I think it's very clear that Sharpe is going to hold on to the most value post selection compared to anyone else they could have gone with if they still want to make a move later down the line. The other thing is, while the Blazers are clearly retooling, trying to put something together, let's be honest with ourselves. They're not doing anything significant in the West next season. We're less than a year removed from a summer filled with rumors of Damian Lillard leaving. The Blazers got a guy that was the #1 player in high school that very likely could have proved himself to be a top 3 talent if we saw him on the college court. There's risk, no doubt, but I like them taking it. If they hit on him, it really gives them a lot of flexibility with the Lillard situation going forward, and they can start building around the young duo of Anthony Simons and Sharpe. Another team whose moves I really liked is the San Antonio Spurs. They went defense early and Jeremy Sohan at 9, then went offense at 20 and Ohio State shot creator Malachi Branham. Then they went upside with Notre Dame guard Blake Wesley. I also kind of like what the Hornets did, although it might not have been their ideal scenario. They got their much needed big in Mark Williams at 15, then traded the 13th pick for a future first rounder. The goal of the night for them coming in was clearly to draft a big and then try to package the other selection with one of their contracts to free up some money. It appears a deal like that wasn't available tonight, so they got an asset to hopefully make a deal later down the line. With what it looks like they were dealt with, I like what they did. I like the Warriors taking the chance on Patrick Baldwin Jr. This is a guy that came into the year projected to be a lottery selection with his combination of skill and size. He disappointed this season and posted some pretty terrible athletic testing, but the potential is still there, and going to an organization like Golden State, he's got a good chance to amount to it. The Wizards getting Johnny Davis at 10, I thought was amazing value. The 76ers trading 23 to Memphis for DeAnthony Melton, I thought was a great move. I loved what the Mavericks did, grabbing Dukes Wendell Moore in the first round, who I think is one of the most slept on players in this class, then taking the shot on the once top 5 projected pick, Jaden Hardy in the second. Now losers are tough to find in this draft. The Kings were obvious, but it's just hard for a lot of these teams before we see these guys play, but I definitely think there's a couple. The Pacers were at 6, and decided to go with Benedict Mathurin. It was a tough place to be in the draft. Mathurin's a solid prospect and he was climbing up the board, but I really think they're going to regret not going with the value and upside that came with Shaedon Sharpe. I don't understand the selection of Walker Kessler by the Timberwolves at all. I question his value flat out in the modern NBA, but putting that aside, I don't see where he fits on a roster alongside Karl Anthony Towns. Then I had to have Jaden Hardy as a loser. His stock over the last year might be one of the craziest things I've ever seen. He was a top-ranked player in high school and went into this G League season projected to be the next Anthony Edwards, a lock to be a top 5 selection, most people having him inside the top 3 or even the #1 overall pick. Now just a year later, he's a second rounder. I still think it's kind of wild just how much he fell considering the slack we've given guys like Cam Reddish. Now a team I have as a slight loser, as much as it pains me to say it, is the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm a Thunder fan, and while I like their selections, I don't think tonight went quite as well as it could or probably should have. With the second overall pick, they were able to get Chet Holmgren. That's been expected for a while now. Personally, once the Magic decided to get Paolo, there was nothing in the world I wanted more than the Thunder to get Jabari Smith. They didn't do that, but again, you really can't go wrong with either of these 3 guys. It's what they did later that was a little odd. They held the 12th overall pick in the draft, but coming in, it looked like they were going to be aggressively trying to move up, trying to get either Jaden Ivey or Shaedon Sharpe. Not being able to get a deal done with the Kings at 4 for Ivy or the Blazers at 7 for Sharpe was disappointing, but maybe the asking price was too high. Fine. Instead, they decided to trade up to 11 and grab Ousmane Dieng, a French forward that showed a lot of promise in the Australian NBL this year with his ball handling at a 6'9" frame. I was excited when they traded up and got him, but I wasn't excited when I found out they gave up 3 first-rounders in next year's draft. Now, all the first rounders have lottery protections. None of them are going to be crazy picks, but that's still a lot of value to give up for the 11th overall pick in a draft like this. Then they got Jalen Williams at 12, who I think is an amazing prospect. He put up insane numbers at Santa Clara this year, while at an insane 6'5", 7'3" wingspan frame and posting a 40-inch vertical. Then in the second round, they get Arkansas glue guy Jalen Williams. I want to make it clear, I like these selections. This team has their backcourt. They got an incredible center prospect in Chet Holmgren, and they double up on high upside wing. I just think not being able to pull off the trades they wanted to try to get Ivy or Sharpe, them giving up 3 first rounders next season for a late lottery pick in a weak draft class, and passing on Jabari made it not quite the ideal night for them. Then we've got a scenario where I have a winner and a loser, and that's the Atlanta Hawks drafting AJ Griffin. This was a tough slide to see for Griffin. He came into the draft with an over-under from Las Vegas at 10.5. Just a few months ago, he looked like an extremely likely top half of the lottery selection, just behind Ivy and right around Keegan Murray. But after the season, we started to see him slip. I had some serious criticism when he was getting mocked really high. I just struggled to see where the upside was to warrant him going there. But it's a different story at 16. He's a super solid defender in a built 6'6", 7-foot wingspan frame that this season shocked everyone by shooting 45% from 3. Falling this far sadly makes him a loser on the night, and the Hawks one of the biggest winners. It seems like they're going to have a lot of moving parts this offseason, so getting a guy in Griffin that I think at the least will be a reliable 3-and-D presence should give them a lot of peace of mind. Now lastly, we've got the Houston Rockets as kind of winners and losers. They made all the right decisions, but it's been well reported that Paolo was their guy, even if they were at number 1, and almost the entire time since the lottery, it looked like they were going to get him. We don't know their opinion on Jabari. I assume they're pretty sad they missed out on Paolo, but they can't be too upset. I honestly really like the fit alongside Jalen Green, especially if Green can be that number 1 option scorer. It looked like he could be at the end of this past season. They followed it up by getting a defensive freak in Tari Eason at 17 that most people had mocked inside the lottery. Then lastly, they were able to get Ty Washington, who's definitely a loser just given where he was projected to go just a couple months ago. When fully healthy, he was getting mocked almost everywhere as a top 10 to late lottery selection. Going into the night, most mocks had him around the Rockets' second first rounder at 17, some even having them taking him, but they were able to get him at 29. Insane. I really don't think the Rockets could have done a better job, but if Paolo ends up being the top player from this class, man, is that gonna burn. But that's the video, guys. You guys send your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked the video, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.